everyone. I am Lee Miracle.
I'm Kayla Clarence.
My name is Hannah Onan.
And I'm Josh Summers, and I thought we had a nap after lunch planned today. I apologize, y'all.
So we are Bourbon with the Bluegrass Babes. We run a podcast here locally. So we're just going to ask you a few questions, kind of fill you out, see what you're doing here. You ready?
It's frightening, but go ahead. It's fine.
It's frightening. You're going to be okay. So first, we're just going to start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in the Panhandle of Florida. Have y'all seen Hurricane Ian? He's headed right that direction. Kind of in the tri-state area. The poorest county in Florida is called Liberty County. You can Google it. They go like this, you miss it. Went to Florida State University, graduated. I didn't do what my family wanted me to do, which is become a Florida Gator, which I can't stand the Gators. If there's Gators in here, I'm sorry. I'm a Seminole. And then, that's right, we can applause for that later. And then when I graduated Florida State, I got into student housing. Some friends of mine, we started a student housing company in the late 90s, and over the years, we did about $3.5 billion in student housing developments, and I was a property manager in Tallahassee when I went. So I literally, and I praised for my dad for 5 years, and I got to know the wonderful world of Realtors and the Panhandle of Florida, and I got beat up quite often back then when I had a lot more hair as well. And it was really my, it was kind of my journey, and so did that for years. We sold part of the company. And I got into, one of my friends said, you need to get into association realtor management. It is so easy. Oh my gosh, that'll be amazing. It's a totally different world, as you all know. Did that 10 years ago. I started out as the MLS and Government Affairs Director of MLS's Multiple Listing Service, and then moved over to Emerald Coast Association of Realtors. That's Destin, 30A, was their Chief Operating Officer. So I was running professional standards, the MLS, accounting, et cetera, and then went to Central Florida. Mike always jokes about the villages. Well, I was in charge of Lake and Sumter County Association of Realtors, where the villages are located, for a number of years before I came here to Kentucky. I did rodeo when I was younger. I grew up on a big farm down there, and I didn't know anything about anything until I got to Tallahassee, and very blessed to be here. So that's kind of my quick journey.
Sounds like we are very happy to have you. So I'm glad you decided to come.
So what influenced you to pursue the CEO position here in Kentucky?
Sure. So there's only 50 jobs like this in the world. And, you know, for me it was, and you heard Rusty and the group before talk about relationships. So in our world, National Association of Realtors, it's a small world. It's a big world. We're the largest trade organization, 1.5 million realtors, but it's really small, especially on the leadership side. And the position came available, and I never thought I would end up as CEO of Kentucky Realtors years ago. But as I learned the path and what it would take to do this job, I worked really hard on several things. Number one, your reputation, because it follows you no matter where you go. It doesn't matter. And two, I'm really crazy about RPAC. Who in here is an RPAC major investor? Thank you so much. We're going to hit 200 this year. I believe that with all my heart. And so advocacy is huge. Our education should always be huge. What we provide to our members. And so growing up in this industry at the local level from the ground really helped me understand what it takes when you get to a position where you can affect change, you know, pushing things. You know, like the advocacy, DEI, all those, YPN is huge. You know, how do we mentor our young realtors and our young at heart realtors that are coming up through this industry? And I learned a lot. And what you learn is a lot of humility in this position. And you learn that if you will just listen, that solves about 90% of the problem. And so it helped me, you know, along the way. But I came to Kentucky, I knew some of the folks here in Kentucky, and just fell in love. My wife fell in love with Kentucky. When I first told her we were moving from the beach to Central Florida, she said no. And then I said we're moving further from the beach to Kentucky. She used other language. And but when she got to Lexington, and we toured and we went around and met all, you know, the folks, it was kind of like being home. And we absolutely fell in love. She cried when we were leaving CVG. She's like, when are we coming back? I said, we'll get here. It was quite the journey, but it's been a real blessing, you know, being here.
So I think right before we walked in, you said this is your 90th day?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so within those 90 days, can you just shed a little bit of light on, like, what are you doing day to day? Like, tell us a little bit more about this role.
Did you not get my CEO report? I emailed that out. I'm just kidding. So I'm a crazy scheduler person with the calendar, and with those that are delegate body on the board of directors, you'll get my CEO report. If you read it, it will be exhausting. When I started this job, the summer retreat, we hit the ground running. Unfortunately, our poor families in Western Kentucky were affected terribly, and our Realtor family late 2021, and then the Eastern Kentucky floods. And so we immediately went into disaster relief working, and today I'm proud to tell you all that we have over $215,000 in Kentucky Realtor Relief Foundation, and that's been huge. That's right. And it was networking with all of our associations at the local and state and national level. NER gave us $1 million plus for Western Kentucky. They gave us another $500,000, and we can go back to them if we need to. But those first 90 days, we really have been working hard to help our folks out in Eastern Kentucky. And then we spent a lot of time getting to know the other associations, working on planning this, what we learned from summer retreat, going out to the other associations and getting to know the regions. Window time equals love, right? So you spend time out there getting to know all my teammates, all the local association executives and CEOs, getting to know them, because realtors are the lifeblood of every community. Local AEs and CEOs are the heartbeat. It doesn't happen unless they work hard. And so spending time with them, I can just share that we have, Mike and I, President Mike Emmett and I, and Elizabeth Monarch, we have spent a tremendous amount of time on the road. Just getting to, we wanted to listen to our members. We're kind of going in a new direction now. We'll be going to some of the installations. I was blessed to be at Ms. Kim Sickles' installation at GLAR last week. That was amazing. And doing things like that, that's right. So it's all those things you do every day, plus also your job back at the office, signing checks and little things like that.
So touching base on the more local entities more so would you say there are big differences in needs for places, let's say just between like the difference between like C-Car and L-Bar, relatively close in proximity, but would you say like their needs difference between them?
They do. It depends on, basically you look at the strategic plan, right? So every local association has a strategic plan, and we have a strategic plan at KYR. And so our job is to support. We do three big things, right? There are a number of other things, but it's advocacy, RPAC, you heard me talk about that. It's education, and ensuring that we're there listening to our local boards and our brokers, and they tell us what they need. We're going to be changing a few things. We're going to be working on our education, adding some more designations throughout the Commonwealth. We've added a great new member orientation. We're going to do that. My personal goal is to work on a mentorship program. We need to add more of that as we move as an organization. And I personally believe that we've got a future National Association of Realtors president here in the Commonwealth. We need to get there. I have a quick trivia question, and if you know this answer, say quiet. Al, don't say anything. Has Kentucky ever had an NAR president? The answer is yes. In 1927, Clarence Hyatt was the NAR president out of Louisville. You can read this. You can Google NAR president Clarence Hyatt. I'll share that with you. It's been a long time since we've had representation at the big table, and it's time for us to go back. How we get there is going to the local associations, supporting the local leadership development programs, having an incredible leadership program here at the state, and building, guiding, and mentoring our future leaders. And it's kind of one of my visions.
Sorry, I'm going off track a little bit.
It's okay.
Why do you think we haven't had somebody at that level recently within the state?
So it's not that we haven't had it. You have three big states in the United States. You have Florida, California, Texas. Okay. And they kind of run things. And in between, there's some smaller states that will go in there. And that's just because they have a large member count. You look at the board of directors. But this is a relationship business, and if we work hard, we do the things that we need to do every day, we'll have future leaders. We have incredible leaders now. We're re-engaging some of our leaders that have been engaged in the past, and we're going to look to our new leaders to help us in the future.
So it seems like advocacy is a passion point for you. Can you just briefly tell us like why that's so important for realtors in real estate world?
Sure. Realtors wake up unemployed and they go to bed unemployed every single day, right? Our job as KYR, Kentucky Realtor Association at the state, is to make sure that path to the closing table is clean and clear. Because if it's not, if they have challenges and issues, we are not doing our job. The best insurance, every one of you, please use this when you're selling RPAC, major investor guidance. The best insurance you ever pay for is $83.34 a month. You know what that equates to? $1,000 as a major investor. Do you know that there's power in the political action committee? We've seen that in other industries, right? We are the largest trade organization in the world. It is our job to protect what you do every day, property rights. And R stands for Realtor, Political Action Committee, not Democrat, not Republican, nothing else. It is very important that we protect our industry every single day. Because would you all rather be on offense or defense? And let me give you a quick example. Realtors can do two equations. Do y'all know what they are? 3% and 6%, right? Right? What happens if there's tax on service? What happens if there's tax on anything? Y'all, it becomes a problem. So how do we go on offense? Well, what we do is we push hard every single day to build our pack. I push hard. You know, I told Mike when we were talking about the job, I said my goal is 200 major investors. Well, it wasn't 200 was not my number. It was $200,000 that we put in the coffers. When we're out there in the legislative, you know, we've got 100 legislatures, 38 senators. They affect what we do. In addition to that, we're going to be building a candidate training program. We're going to actually be training realtor members how to go out and run for local office. When I came from Florida, we had Vice President of Public Policy from Miami who was a state senator who most likely will be the Lieutenant Governor of Florida one day. We can do this. We can help train our future leaders. We can literally show the power of the PAC and KYR and all of our local associations. So, as you can tell, it's a big passion of mine. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a lot in the works for Kentucky. Super excited about that, especially in the leadership realm for realtors. Right. Can you shed a little insight on what are some qualities that you're looking for in those realtors and encouraging those qualities to get us back in the NAR?
I think what happens through leadership that you see coming up through the ranks at the local and to the state level, as you see the character building, realtors get beat up every single day. They go through all kinds of things. It's a low, it's a high, and they're incredible multitaskers. And so whether they're a large brokerage, a small brokerage, they deal with the same problems every day. It's the same wolves that are always at their feet. And I think you see, this is a volunteer organization. No one gets paid. Everything is volunteer. And the heart of a volunteer is stronger than anything. And I think the one thing that we will see and that they've seen here, Kentucky's had incredible leadership through the decades. You know, we're celebrating 100 years this year. And I can tell you, if we could go back and talk to those leaders that are no longer with us, they would say, boy, we had some challenges. And right now, we're faced with tremendous challenges. And I think that you'll see those leaders that deal with that at the local, because politics is local and kind of comes up through attrition. But I think that you'll see incredible qualities. You know, leaders are humble. They have servant leadership. I'm a strong believer in that. And giving back to the community, you guys can kind of hear all the little things that are involved in the community. It's just incredible. And you want to see the heart of a volunteer. Go look at a realtor and look at the things that they do. It's amazing.
So, a little bit of a hot topic. What would you say is our next biggest hurdle in Kentucky real estate? So, I'm a lender. I know rates are kind of, everywhere right now. We also have need for affordable housing prices going up, shortages. What's, in your mind, the biggest hurdle that we're about to kind of go through?
So, everybody's freaking out about these interest rates. When I bought my first house, I bought it at 8.5%, right? interest rates are going to be what they're going to be, right? Yeah, right. You know, and I don't want to switch it. It's not really affordable. It's housing affordability. It's what we have going on the western side of Kentucky. We've got to have housing. When you have a shortage, you know, everyone is focused on the housing affordability, because when you go into these markets, where does someone whose the family averages $80,000, how do they qualify? You know, look at credit scores. Look at all the things that impact their ability to buy. I think we'll continue to have Lawrence Yoon, if you guys haven't followed him, maybe we can get him on your show one day. He's the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors. The guy's a genius. And if you listen to him, he's kind of late. He kind of talks very soft-spoken, and he'll say, you know, look, the markets ebb and flow. That's what they do. What we have to have is more homes to sell. That's where we're at. I think that'll continue to be an issue until we can catch up. And again, I don't have the crystal ball. Some people say 5 years. Some people say 10 years. It also depends on pricing, you know, of everything that's involved in the construction industry. You know, and for me, I believe we've got some lawsuits that we're dealing with out there. And I think that for us, we need to do it just as clean as we've been doing, if not cleaner. We need to be professional. We need to follow the code of ethics. And Kentucky, I believe, will be a light for everyone to see how we do business. We're modeling and structuring how we conform to our meetings and the other things that we're doing from a professional standard standpoint, where I think you're going to have a lot of folks looking at us saying, how are you guys doing that? Mm-hmm. And we're going to be doing things like attending the C5 conference. It's a commercial conference in New York. We've got to bring in those development partners. We've got to work with the governor's office, which we met with him a couple weeks ago. We've got to reach out and work with all levels of government to ensure that we create that continuity, so we're all talking. Economic development, there are a number of factors that come into that. So we have all this on our plate. We've compartmentalized those things, and it's going to take some time, but we always represent our realtor members, no matter what. It's their money we spend when we go and do things. Mm-hmm. We always have to think about that. But we've got some incredible champions in this room and attending this week that they're true operators, and we'll get there.
Yeah, nice.
So as a realtor, I can attest to how busy that we all stay. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, why is it important to make state conference a priority?
This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you come and learn exactly what's going on, because if I didn't have relationships with everyone, you know, the question is, what do my member dues do for me? Right? How many times have you asked that, right? What do my members do for me? My members' dues do for me? Well, we have to show you. We have to show you that we're out there on the road. We're out there working on the political side to protect our industry. We want to have incredible education here, which you see. We also want to network. Every broker that was up here talked about relationships. The main point of this event is relationship building, right? You want to come here, what are you doing? How do we do it better? How can I be better as a leader for your organization? And it's sharing those ideas. Also, it's a health investment. A good health investment is getting out of your office, right? How many times, who here is hooked to their phone all the time, right? When do you take that health investment break? When you're talking to somebody that you like or you kind of commiserate with, it gives you a little bit of a break, right? This is the best health investment you will ever make coming here. I promise you. And just listen, learn. And again, I think there's a number of things. Also having the right team around you when you come here. And I look to see all of you build those long-term relationships. If you're not on a committee, I'm going to beg you to get on one, so just be prepared. I've mentally taken photos of everybody's face in here. But be involved, and this is where we find our future leaders. This is where our future leaders find out that they want to get involved, so it's important.
So you're talking about teams and how important that is. Can you tell us a little bit about how to build a team of trusted teammates?
Sure. Have you guys ever worked for somebody that didn't tell you, they didn't give you anything, they gave you nothing, said go do your job? How miserable is that, right? When you take over as a leader, the number one thing you can do is talk about your vision, lay out. You guys ever read that book by General McCraven, our Admiral McCraven, the Navy SEAL, Make Your Bed? Every day. So what you have to do is, with your team, create a vision and say, if we're going to get here, this is how we're going to do it. I'll give you an example. I freaked everybody out when I said we're going to hit 200 major investors this year. They said, we've only got 6 months. I said, okay. So I created my own vision board and said, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to go out to all of our brokerages, big, small, I don't care. The local association executive is going to go with us, and we're going to preach about the importance of protecting your profession, right? And I think we're going to pretty much get there. But I took that vision and I imparted that on all of my teammates, my leadership team, and said, this is what we're going to do. It's the same thing every day, and say it with your numbers, right? No matter what your goal is. If you set your goals and say, this is where I have to be every day, and you verbally tell your team, this is what I need you to do, because does anybody have that Jedi mind power of being able to read minds? Me either. But we assume everybody does, right? Because we assume you know what we're talking about. I'm an over-communicator, obviously. And so if we impart that knowledge that we have and say, this is where we want to be, I promise you it'll make all the difference in the world with your team, even in your personal life. If I don't tell Cameron, if I assume Cameron thinks I'm doing something, I've really fouled up, because she typically, I should have told her, this is what we got to do, I'm traveling here, this is what we're doing. You lay out your plan, you plan the work, and you work the plan. Very simple.
Perfect. So one last question. So you've talked about a little bit about your experience in the different associations that you have been a part of. Are there any qualities of one of those associations that you liked and that you would like to bring to this one?
So the last association I was at, we worked extremely hard on camaraderie. I'd come into this association, there was a massive lawsuit, they had all kinds of stuff going on. And the one thing I told them when I took the job is I said, you know what? We're not going to dwell on the past anymore. We're going to look to the future. So we quit having conversations about things that didn't really matter anymore. And we focused on how we were going to create a light so everyone would come to it, given all the things that were going on. And in a 3.5-year period, we transformed that association from being, 1,800 members to almost 3,000 members. They had never hit RPAC numbers over, I think, 8 or 9. By last year there, we had 58 major RPAC investors because we spread the message. What's great about Kentucky Realtors is that everybody here is so passionate. They love Kentucky Realtors. They love their local associations, and they would do anything to support it. And when you have that kind of attitude and passion that you can read, see, and feel from everybody, there's nothing you can't do.
It's so funny. So I'm actually no longer technically employed in the real estate industry, but I'm still so close to everyone in here because all of you all are so dedicated, and it's just such a fun industry. Josh, we are so excited to see what you're going to do and to continue. I know you're only 90 days in, so you've got a lot ahead of you, but we really appreciate you coming and chatting with us today. So we have a request from you all. Now, my favorite part about being in a room full of realtors is that I'm about to ask you to do something that's social media related. And I know that you guys aren't going to look at me weird because you're going to be like, oh, it's just, just another day on the job. So we're going to try to remake a reel. How do I explain this?
I get this part apparently. So basically, we're going to be up front, we're going to do a little jig, and then we're going to flip the camera, and he's going to be in the front, and you guys are going to do a little jig. Too. Oh, you're here now. It's public knowledge. It's public knowledge. I wanted to ask one more question. So, Josh, you are obviously very into making relationships and stuff. That is the key. I think all of us can kind of agree, whether it be, relationships with your clients or with your lender, it makes a better transaction and everybody is friends and have that comfortability. So, what is your favorite thing about Kentucky? When you came here, you were like, this is it. This is home now. So give them something to
Bourbon,
to.
obviously.
Bourbon. That's what I was looking for. That was the question.
My buddy Jim DeMille is there. He's my guidepost on that.
Okay. What's your favorite bourbon?
So that's kind of so I like Old Forester.
Okay.
I like Weller. How much time do you have? I'm just kidding. I want to say the other thing is if y'all driven in Florida traffic lately? Has anybody been to Florida lately? They will do terrible things to you when you're driving on the road if you don't do what they want you to do behind you. In Kentucky, they'll let you in, they wave, on the interstate. They're like, yeah, come on in. I'm like, I thought the guy was making a gesture at me. He was literally letting me in. In Florida, we would think that would be a gun waving at us or something like that. So it was amazing. The traffic.
Okay.
The people here are so cool. I think one of the reasons I got interviewed and probably got this job is because of my accent as well. Because it's Southern hospitality here. That's right. But everyone here is very genuine. You see people that may not be that way, but I will tell you, this is the most genuinely honest group I have been around, and they have nothing but passion. And I'm truly thankful and blessed to be here.
Nice. Love it. Alrighty, are you guys ready to groove a little bit? Oh, yeah, that was my demonstration.